madam.
Yes, Christine, you can go ahead and introduce Anja. Thank you. Christine, you're muted.
I introducing you, right? Hello, everybody, and welcome. I don't have anything for you.
It doesn't matter. I can
Right,
introduce
so
myself.
I want to introduce the lovely Anja Loetscher. I've never said your surname, but what a lovely surname it is. And she has been a lady who's been part of the I Am Every Woman book, along with myself, one of the other 14 co-authors. But she was the instigator of these wonderful interviews that have been taking place with Dr. Anu Mata. I'm going to just test my memory, but Anja and I, in fact, got connected only through the virtual stratosphere in the last year and a half. But we feel we know each other very well. I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting you very soon, Anja. But Anja has had a career that took her all around the world, living around the world. She actually was born in Germany, but she actually lived in, please remind me which country, Anja, when you were younger with your mother and father?
I lived in mainly Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And then she has traveled and worked in many countries in the...
I lived in many countries with my husband, who was running hotels, and so I was a lot in Asia and in Australia and in fabulous Tahiti.
Aha. And her chapter is entitled "Learn to Become a Chameleon." Because I think she feels she's had many different styles and shapes and colors in her life. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Anu, to start the questions, which I'm looking forward to very much.
Thank you, Christine. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Anu throws us in the boat.
You know what? I have interviewed Anja twice before, and for different occasions, and it's been going on. It's an ongoing journey which has gone on for almost last 2 years. Again, I have only met her on a platform like this, which means we've only virtually met. But you know what? Whether it's Christine, it's Astrid, Anja, I feel like a part of I'm Every Woman. And I feel that this is the last author that I'm going to be connecting with today. In some way, it feels that a new phase in my life is starting. Because Anja started something that was very interesting in my life, and that is to read. I was told and instructed as a child that you should only read books which are educational. Every time I sat down with a book that meant it was fiction or autobiography, my mother would look at me and said, "You're not studying." So I really want to thank Anja for bringing this new phase in my life where not only did I read, but I went back and revised the chapters. And today, when I had to question her the third time, actually the fourth, because we did a mock, which hasn't really gone on, and I didn't feel like putting that up. I said, let me put it all together. I really need to thank you, Anja, for bringing up a new part of me which said I could read. It's not a big deal. And I am a little nervous today because it's the last, and if you question someone on and on their life, you wonder what else is left in their life to ask. And then you go back into the chapter and you read between the lines, and it just amazed me that there was so much to ask. So I really want to thank you, Anja, for being part of my journey. And it feels like I'm talking to a bestie, someone who I could sit down and have a laugh with. And yeah, and she was the first one to wish me today. So that was even more brilliant and beautiful. So the question for you is, Anja, and this was in the first few lines. You said, I would end up living here. And this is your addressing to your mom. And you say, mom, you knew, mom, that I would end up living in this house. And I never believed you. And that struck me, that a lady with whom you resonated so much, why would you not believe that you would ever be in Germany in that house that you're living right now? Thank you so much.
I never felt that I had the courage to live in the house where she had lived. And it was very, very difficult for me to move into this house, which was hers. But she always said, because I had my own apartment also here in Munich, and I always said, I'm going to stay there. And after she passed away, I decided to move into her house. And she always said, Anja, you will be coming here. And I always said, no, I stay in my house. I don't want to stay in your house after you died. It's not nice. But I did come. So
what do you think has got you here? Because it feels like, oh my God, like, there's something that you have denied all your life. And you literally told the person, I don't want to come back. And then you walk back straight into the place where she was.
It was also a practical reason. Because I'm now 67, so I'm getting older and older by the day. And my apartment was or is in a house where you had 20 steps to go up to my place. And her house is 3 steps to go into the house. So as you grow older, 20 steps become quite difficult. So it was a practical reason also for coming here, because then I realized actually her house is better than mine for my old age. And so that was one of the reasons why I came. But I tell you, it was awful. It was awful the first months to live in here, knowing that my mom passed away. This was her last house, or her only house and her last home to be in. And it was very, very difficult, very difficult. I stayed in my own flat for quite a while before I moved in here, just because it took me a lot of emotion to be in the house where she passed away.
And here your last lines of the chapter are, if you had more time, you wished you had spent more time with your mom.
Yeah.
Is this your way of spending more time with her?
I spend a lot of time with her now. I talk to her from time to time. And I always say, and this is what I try to do with my daughter also now, I think it's very, very important to spend time with your mom, because we are running around and running around and running around all day long. And we were in different countries all the time and different places all the time. And then when the time comes, you say, shit, I would have liked to know a little bit more. I would have liked to spend more time with her. And so my emphasis today is to spend more time with my daughter, because those times don't come back anymore. And when you want to know more about your mom, it's by being together with her that you learn more about her. And I regret that I didn't have enough time with her together, especially the last years when she was not doing well.
So there's so many people who would be watching what you're saying. And there's so many moms out there, so many daughters out there. Does it take entire 66 years to understand your mom? Or can we understand her much earlier in life? Or is there something that stops us? What would your experience be? Because you mentioned a statement saying that at 66 now, I understand how you felt to be without your family. It's almost you're standing there in her house and you're writing a book in which you're saying, Mom, now I understand how you feel or felt back in time. Do we really have to spend our entire life understanding everyone else and then come back and say, oh my God, I'm living her life in many, many ways?
I never realized that I am a splitting copy of my mother. This only came when I start writing the book, And I never realized before that I am like her and that everything I did was a copy of my mother. And it only dawned on me afterwards when I started writing, because we have many, many, many things in common. But it never struck me before. Was it time? Was it because I didn't live in the same city? Because we didn't talk about it? I mean, it just came. And today, I mean, I see that, and I even see it with my daughter also, there is a continuation. There's a continuation and we're doing the same thing.
Wow. And that's so profound actually, because it's almost like to understand someone takes a lifetime, and then to understand that you are like someone, and to understand that in one life is a big achievement, Anja. Most of the people don't want to be like their mom and dad. I don't know why, but most of the people run away and they don't see things which are so obvious in front of them. Do you have any idea why that happened?
Well, I think for why it happened to me that I didn't see it earlier is because we never spent time together a lot. She was in Germany, I was in Hong Kong, or I was here, or I was there, or when I was in Germany, she was traveling, so we didn't really spend much time about talking about ourselves and how we feel about everything. And it only came later in when she was getting older that I started realizing, who she was. I had always asked her, because she was also a woman who saw a lot in her life and experienced a lot. Already leaving her family, in the 1952 or 54 at that time, was to go to Africa. I mean, who did that at that time? She was very courageous. But all this I only saw now. And yes, I think it was because I traveled around with my ex-husband's job. And we didn't, after I was 20, at the age of 20, we didn't see each other much anymore on a regular basis because we were worlds apart and countries apart. And often I asked her when I was here on vacation, say, well, why don't you tell me a little bit, or why don't you tape your life, talk into a microphone or whatever. If you don't want to write, talk about it. Yeah. She kept on saying, yeah, but she never did it. And so I was surprised to find out that while writing, and I'm repeating myself, that I'm a spitting image of my mother.
And to accept that, to hold that, and then to be at her place and literally in her shoes. It's just, I think it's just an amazing part of you.
Cheers.
I think there's another one coming. It's just like, okay, so you did mention that she was very courageous. She traveled all by herself to China. She also met very amazing people in her life, and so did you. What is an impact that left in your life? Like when you saw this mom of yours doing everything unconventional, including traveling, including saying, I can survive without my family and I can create another family somewhere. Loving someone and holding him so dearly, and then holding all of you so dearly, and then still not leaving her courage behind despite all the challenges that she had in her life. What impact did this have in your life?
I inherited her courage. And I never, I'm a person, like when she traveled through all China, and that was the first woman to travel through all China by herself. And I was living in Hong Kong at that time, and she came. I didn't question anything. It was like normal for me that she would do something like that. And it's only now that as I grow older, I realize it was not normal what she did. It was not normal. I mean, who the hell would travel in the 60s and 70s through China all alone? She had a special pass to go through China all by herself. No one went around in China all by themselves at that time. But I didn't question, she arrived in Hong Kong and we were happy to see her and all of that. And now I realize, God, the courage she had. I don't know if I would run through China all by myself. And that's why I have the greatest admiration for her, for what she did in all her life. And it's like I said, it started when she left my dad in order to go to Africa. And who would leave everything behind? She came out of a big family, and it was a no-go. I mean, her parents never accepted her back home anymore after she left, because she said, that's it, I go. And she went to Africa, and to go and marry a Black man at that time, that was not something normal in 1954, 55. I don't know if I would have had that courage. I think I would, maybe, I don't know. I haven't experienced it. But she was very, very courageous, very powerful.
Wow. You also mentioned that somewhere the color black and white meant different for you because you grew up between the colors. You were not just talking colors and saying, hey, we must have no racism with color and no bias around color. You were really growing up with the beautiful shades of white and black around you. And to really say, within India also, we have a lot of admiration for the pale skin, and we still have a bias towards darker shades. What is it that you would like to tell my fellow Indians and to many others across the world who make, are you black, are you white, as everything? Thank you.
I had this conversation today with my friend, Anna Maria, who's sitting here with me. And there is a home for everyone in life, whether you are black or white or yellow or whatever. And for me, it has never made a difference of what color you are, because like you said, I grew up in this. I mean, they used to call my brother nigger in kindergarten, and I said his name is not nigger, his name is Andreas. I didn't even know this name. And for me, the color doesn't matter. For me, what matters is that people respect their culture. Like if I come to India, I want to respect your culture while I'm there. But when you come to Germany, you should then respect our culture. And this is where sometimes I think there are frictions, because like in Bavaria, for instance, it's very Catholic, and in all the schools, there is a cross in the classroom. And then we had a lot of foreigners who are not Christian said, you know what? We want this cross not in the class. The parents were complaining that there is a cross. And I said, I think it's wrong because it's our culture and we can keep our culture. You know, it's the same like when first time I lived in Dubai, it was in 1978, I think. And we had to wear long sleeves and not show our arms and all of that. And I respected it. And I want people, when they come to my country, to also respect our way. And as long as we are in that sphere, there is right for everyone to live. But please respect the culture of wherever you are.
And this is so beautifully said, Anja. It's not just about culture of the countries. Every home is different.
Yeah.
And every human being has a culture of his own.
Yeah.
Which is, we're not talking God here, we're talking culture. And if we can respect various cultures, I think life around the globe wouldn't be just black and white. It would be so many cultures merging and mixing together and creating rainbows. Thank you so much for that, because people have often segregated people just on how they looked. And yes, I understand it doesn't matter to you, but it has been a part which even your mom and you have experienced, that people view it differently. It's because they haven't grown in as beautiful family as Anja did.
Well, I consider myself very lucky that I have seen so many different cultures in my life and learned to accept every culture wherever I was, and to live like the locals. This was always my motto, to live with the locals and like the locals, eat the local food and be part of that country where I was at the moment. And that's so enriching because you learn so much by doing that. Instead of, I mentioned that in the book also, you know, when we were like in Hong Kong or wherever, or Bangladesh, you have the German clubs, the Swiss clubs, where all the Swiss sit or all the Germans sit or all the Americans sit. I never went to these clubs. I mean, why am I in this country if I go and meet my own folks again there? I want to learn what this country has to offer. And that's the beauty of it, you know, and it's so enriching.
Absolutely, Anja. I was also amazed with what you wrote. You said, where is home now?
Yeah.
And so I really want to understand from you, what is the definition of home? Is it a physical space, or is it about being at home with someone, or is it about being at home? So if you could just throw some light on that. Thank you.
For me, when my mom divorced, that was, I think, in 72 or something like that, and she came to Germany, And she kept on saying that they have class reunions of all the former students, in Hamburg, where she came from. And so she's going there to meet them. And they had every year class reunions. And then I thought, where are my roots? Because I was everywhere. And so where are my roots? I grew up in Ethiopia. I lived in Liberia. I lived in Turkey twice. I lived in so many countries. Where are my roots? And just because I am now in Germany, does that mean this is my roots? And then I said, well, yeah, most probably because I was born in Germany and now the circle closes again. But I said to Claudia the other day that I would like to write a book about where do I belong? I don't know if I belong to Germany or if I belong in this house. I don't know.
Could it be, Anja, the other way around?
Like what?
Rather than saying, where do I belong? Could it be the other way around? How many countries and how many cultures belong to me?
Yeah.
Could that be more like being at home?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know yet. Because sometimes I say I came back to Germany after Geneva, but I could have gone to Timbuktu, what difference does it make? Or I could have gone to, I don't know where, but somehow I think I wanted to be close to my grandchildren and my daughter, so I opted for Germany. And Switzerland was too expensive to live when you are in retirement. So I said, no, Switzerland. But I don't know. I can't answer the question yet. I don't know.
And it's so interesting, Anja, that you come back to your mom's home.
Yeah.
Could that be your roots?
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. And when I look at my friends, okay, when I lived for a couple of years in Germany before I moved around the world and married, and where are my friends now, I have a very dear Vietnamese friend who lives in San Francisco. I have Anna Maria, who is in Puerto Rico. And, but my friends are everywhere, but, it's I don't know, it's scattered. It's a bit scattered. Yeah, scattered. I'm still trying to figure out if this is the last destination.
Wow. According to Indians, we don't have a last destination ever.
No, I know. It continues.
It just continues. But if you were to spiritually look at this, and I think you've divided spiritually, when you looked at your life, you've divided into, phases of 20 years. You've named them: authenticity, adaptability, faith. And very interestingly, you say, I'm scattered. Things are scattered. Things are scattered, you said.
Yeah.
How does being scattered and faith come together?
Well, you see, when this whole 20 years came about because I had to draw my life at a meditation class and in India. And I was sitting 2 hours in front of my page and I couldn't draw anything. And then all of a sudden, I saw that my whole life are chunks of 20 in different continents. And this is how I came up with these drawing then Africa and drawing Australia and drawing Asia and so on, and Europe. And I tried to figure out what were the phases of my life. And being in Africa was growing up, being Anja who she is. And then moving around the whole world all the time, it required a lot of adaptability. because sometimes we were there for 1 year or 3 years or 5 years or 2 years or half a year, you know, and we had to move constantly and pack and unpack and pack and unpack. I was the best person in packing and unpacking. And looking for new schools again for my daughter, then again looking for doctors and all of that, you know, and it was constant adapting. And then later when I divorced, I said, now comes faith, you know, I have to have faith for what happened to me. I mean, divorcing and not knowing where to go and all of that. And that's how these 2020 came. And now I say, okay, now it's gratitude. I'm happy for what I have done. I'm happy for life I had, the experiences I had. But I feel like there's something more coming, but I don't know what.
Yes, it's very interesting because you use the word scattered.
Yeah.
And in the phase of faith. So I wanted to really find out what makes you feel scattered and how is faith going to help you? Or how are these two words interconnected?
Scattered and which word? And the faith.
Yes.
The faith is that that the scatter will go away for in a little while. It's yeah, I don't feel home yet here in Germany.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't feel home yet. And even though I live here, I don't feel home. But this is what I'm trying to figure out, you know, what's my next step?
Okay, let's just put it as an assumption. Let's just assume that a miracle happens. And you
what
really
happens?
a miracle happens.
Yeah.
And you can really figure out what you want to do. Where would you see your life going then? Would there be another tag there? Because maybe after faith, there's something else coming after gratitude?
I don't know, but I think today, it's maybe because also I have my sister, my brother, my mother are all buried a 10-minute walk from me, okay, at the graveyard. So I'm the last one left, except for my daughter, but I'm the last one left now. And so, yeah, I don't feel home yet. And I can't explain. I don't feel home yet. And it's maybe because my friends are scattered everywhere. And maybe it's because I have no family here. And maybe it's because doing new things, are these the things I really want to do? So for me, it's a bit of everything at the moment.
That was so authentic, Anja. I could feel it. Thank you. If you were to write stories for your grandchildren, and I know from your stories that you have a lot of stories to share with them, what would you write in that storybook? And what is the message you would leave behind for your grandchildren?
For my grandchildren, you suggested I should write a colorful book with a crocodile and all of that for them. It's, I want to, what I miss with my mom, I want to do that with my children, with my grandchildren and my daughter, to spend more time with them. And really, they're too young yet to understand lots of things, because one is 8 and the other is 12. And But it has become one of my wishes to spend time with them more than what I ever did with my mom. But it's interesting that I don't call my daughter and say, I want to come. It's her who's calling me now all the time and say, Mommy, come. Because I don't want to impose myself on the family. They have their life and they do their things. And so I like that my daughter and me, there's been major shifts on how we communicate together. And I think that is because since I came here also, I used to, in my work, also run around the whole globe the last years and never really had time to also sit down and talk. And this talking became very important for me with the daughter. So we don't make the same mistake that we don't know enough of each other.
Anja, if there was one of your grandchild who was exactly going to live a life like you lived your mom's, what is an advice you would give to this grandchild of yours?
I would say enjoy life and run around the world and do as much as you can. Because, like I mentioned before, it's so enriching. And I don't want to miss a single day of what I did. I don't regret anything I did. And grab all the opportunities you get. Because you don't know what's going to happen, and just go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Wow. If you were to write a book called Adventures of Anja, what would a few adventures be like in that book?
Well, my most daring adventure was when I started to learn to fly a little plane, a Cessna. And that was one of my biggest adventures. And also scary, actually, because I went off into the sky all by myself. And especially the first time when when the tower told me what I need to do, and I just ignored everything, and the whole airport was in a mess because of me. And I was so happy to be down again. And then the second time when I flew, the tower gave me and another plane the right to land. And then I said, but there is someone next to me also landing, and I'm landing, who has to go first? And so these are moments where you say, am I crazy, or what am I doing there up in the air, but it was fantastic. The only mistake I did, I took my daughter with me every time, and she doesn't like flying because she learned flying with me in the little planes, and you feel everything, you feel every cloud. And since that, she worries always when she is in the plane. And that was my fault. She never wanted to come. And I said, you come with me. I wanted her to be with me. I needed maybe someone. And I think that was the most adventurous thing I did, which cost me a lot of courage. But then in Australia, the distances are also long, and in the bush, I mean, we were in Darwin. And what we did then was we would fly around with our planes to meet people, and go for lunch. And that was Australia. So, yeah.
Wow. And can you also tell people about the adventures where you were very young and your mom had kind of gone for to take care of your sister, and what you did in the bathtub? I mean, these are some things that if your grandchildren even hear this video many years later, they'll probably sit down and say, oh my God, my grandmom could do all that. So could you tell us what really happened and what were you doing?
My sister was born with a cleft palate and no gums, and she needed every year operation. And so my mom flew every year as of her birth to Germany to have all these operations done. And we kids at that time, we didn't understand too much about all of that. And being in Africa, they often sell animals on the road. And so we would always convince our dad that we needed an animal at home. So once it was a mongoose, it's like a little rat. And then we had Monkey, and Monkey was climbing around everywhere in the house. And then every time my mom came back home, she, of course, went crazy with my dad and said, why did you allow the children to have all of this? And the most fascinating, we thought, what we did once is that we bought a crocodile and we put the crocodile in the bathtub. And then we put sand inside and everything, and I mean, my dad was ambassador. We had huge bathrooms and everything. And then we say, well, the crocodile is used to greenery and all that. So we brought plants in the bathroom and everything and made it nice and cozy for the crocodile, But then when my mom came, of course, the crocodile had to go. So, but it was nice. We grew up in a really nice way because, having all these animals and sitting on top on the Land Rover, when my dad was driving around and I was sitting on the Land Rover and eating bananas all the time. And they always said, Anja, we will need a banana plantation for you one day. Today, I cannot touch a banana. I don't like bananas anymore. But yeah, so we had a carefree childhood, which is nice.
You also seem to be having a fascination for converting bathrooms either into a zoo or into a kitchen. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Into a
kitchen.
Kitchen? No.
Yeah. Yes. You were always converting the bathrooms of the big places that you were going into a small.
Oh yeah.
kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Never invite Anja home. If you do, you know what's going to happen. Your bathroom is going to get converted into something different.
You're amazing, Anu. You keep on seeing the liaisons of everything. It's well, in the hotel, we always had to live in the hotel, which my husband used to work for the chain, and we worked for Sheraton or Intercontinental and whatever, and we always had to stay in the hotel. So I traveled around the world with 1 ton of luggage every time, because I did not want to have a Sheraton towel or whatever, a picture of Intercontinental, or I didn't want that. I also wanted to have try and have a normal life, because living in a hotel is not normal. And so the first thing I did in every suite, which we then lived in, I took everything out, including one of the bathrooms, and I transferred every bathroom into a kitchen, not every, but in every place we went, transferred it into a kitchen. So I could cook in the hotel also, because, you get tired of eating hotel food all the time, and I wanted homemade food. So I did convert in every suite we had, one of the bathrooms became a kitchen. Yeah.
Wow.
So yes, I have an affinity for bathrooms. Yeah.
Yeah. Only someone like you can think of converting it into a zoo or a kitchen, and it's just amazing. Okay, you've been through a number of jobs, or let's put it wasn't really jobs, it was the way you were occupying yourself in every place. and you were doing something, you were connecting with the locals over there. So two questions there. Which is the best job, or a tried out thing that you really liked, and why? And which is the best place, like across the world you've been, and like which is that place that really calls you back again and again, and you feel probably that was the best phase of your life?
The best place I enjoyed was in Hong Kong. And why is because I was a teacher for Ikebana. So I would teach students to become a teacher. And I did a lot of exhibitions in City Hall and everywhere with huge flower arrangements and everything. I really, really loved that. At home, where we lived in Hong Kong, I had a huge living room and dining room. And that became like my office there with all the plants, and I had ladies coming to learn how to arrange flowers or leaves or whatever. And that was really beautiful. I loved that work. I really loved it. Then, yeah, it was nice. What I also enjoyed was when I lived in Bangkok, I worked there in the museum, and I learned a lot about Thailand and did excavations and worked in the museum trying and training guides to take tourists around. So it was complete different things I did during my whole life. I used to run Benetton boutique. I used to import beautiful garments from India into Hong Kong with all the evening dresses and all of that. And I was a representative also of Laura Secord chocolates in Hong Kong, the Canadian chocolates. So yeah, I did many things, and it always depended whether I had the permit to work or not, because sometimes I wouldn't get permits in the country. So I just, like in Bangladesh, I became brownie leader in the school. So yeah, that was something different, working with the children. And yeah.
Wow. It feels as if you've lived many lives in one life.
Yes, I did.
And you embraced many cultures in one life.
Mm-hmm.
And you were happy. You were happy converting bathrooms into whatever. And you were converting and you were transforming. And you were adding to yourself. And I know you, and I know that you still continue to do that. And could that be the reason that you've never been at home anywhere, because you don't want to be stuck to something?
I think so.
What's wrong with that, Anja? What's wrong with that?
The corona stuck us now, but I'm very happy that corona happened, because we would have never met. Number one, we would have never written all the 15 authors our book if it wouldn't have been for corona. So many new possibilities came up, which we never dreamt of. I mean, until corona, I hardly used I used the computer, but I didn't know what to do with it, or how to Zoom. All this thing was new for me. And when I had an IT problem in Geneva, I called the IT guy and say, fix it, now I'm all alone and I need to fix it, so I've learned a lot, IT and all of that to handle. But again, I keep on saying during the corona time, I say, thank you, corona, because I learned so much in this time, so much. And even though you didn't see your friends, but, I have new virtual friends, which is nice also, and I'm sure we're going to meet one day. But it's I think it was fantastic also to live this Corona time. Of course, it's not nice and we were not allowed to go out and all of that. But, if the thing is, when I left Geneva, people wanted to hire me and hired me to continue to work in the industry, which I was doing congresses. And when they asked me, Anja, when I left Geneva, a couple of them asked me, do you want to work for us and blah, blah, blah. And then one of them, I said, yes, I'll sporadically will work for you. And then Corona came and, I'm happy. I don't want to work in the Congress business anymore. I don't want to anymore because I have learned so many new things in this Corona time. And I mean, we even did painting together, neurographics. And I realized that I cannot paint, so forget painting. That's not my thing. And I gave up on that one. And but I learned so many other things. I mean, I became a yoga teacher for children. So I did a whole education on that while I was here, and which was also fantastic, partially with a room and partially after when Corona started, okay, that was it, and so it opened many new doors again.
Wow. The very last question, or maybe the second last question that I'm asking.
Yeah, you always say the last question and then comes another question and another question. Okay.
Okay. Bye. So Anja, there are many women who are watching this, and sometimes relationships become difficult, and you waited for the right place, right time, and you got your divorce in the shortest time that I've known anyone to get divorced. 2 days. And 2 days, your life was different. So if anyone is on this space where in 2 days their life is going to be different, not just because of divorce, but because of maybe some other things, what are the guidelines that you would give to people? How did you hold that faith? How did you move from adaptability to faith? Did you hold the authenticity, adaptability, and then did you create faith? What was it like? If you can give us experience and give us a few tips on how to move on and how not to keep standing in the same place. Thank you.
I think the key is always to move on and to believe in what you think is right for you. And your intuition also tells you what is right for you. And you should believe in your intuition. And you should dare change and do and not be afraid of it. Because, I mean, I was lucky when I came to Istanbul and it was a similar law for divorce. It was easier than many countries I lived in. And it was not a decision from one day to the other that I want to divorce. It's been hanging around with me for a while. But I said, this is it. And I didn't leave with a grunge of anything because I had a fantastic life. I said, thank you. And you need to believe in yourself that life continues. It's not easy because I did have a ball in my chest for quite a while before it went away. I didn't know where I'm going. Am I going to Germany? I wanted to stay in Istanbul, but it was not an option with two blonde ladies being there, my daughter and myself. And we had school paid, everything paid. I had a driver, everything. And then when I divorced, I had nothing anymore. And I said, no, this is not an option. We have to go to Germany, and I'll try and find a job there. And you need to believe in yourself, and life goes on. And I would have never stayed for the sake. A lot of people said to me, Anja, you have this fantastic life. You have everything. You have a cook, you have a nanny, you have everything. Yeah, but it was a golden cage for me. And I didn't want to be in this cage anymore. and it was artificial, and I didn't want this artificial life anymore. And then if you're healthy, and I said, even if I need to go and work as someone cleaning houses or whatever, I'll do it. I just need to start at zero again. And this is what I did. And I didn't ask for anything. I just said to my husband, thank you for the lovely life I had. And you were always generous, but it's not my life anymore. And goodbye. And I started from scratch at the age of 40. And I have no regrets. It was the best decision I did, because you can't hang on in life onto something if you're not happy anymore with it. And the only one who can change it is it yourself. No one else can change it for you. You have to take the decision.
And it just feels as if the time has just stood by, and the only thing that I understand now is the courage and belief. And if you're not happy, even if it's a golden cage, and everybody else wants to be in that golden cage and they don't understand, you are the one who's not happy. It's not about the cage. It's not about how much life gave you or didn't give you. It's about how you want to live your life. I really salute you for that, because it's not easy. It's easier to get out of poverty and say, I chose a life of abundance. It's very difficult to live a life of abundance and say, I went to zero, but I had the freedom to do everything, and my freedom and what makes me happy is far more important than anything else. And that's something I think each one of us can learn from. And unfortunately, I don't have any more questions, so I'm going to ask others to ask you if they have anything that they want to know about Anja. Thank you so much, Anja. That was very, very kind of you.
Anu, I want to thank you, because this is also our last session, and I'm really, really going to miss it, because we really had Christine can vouch, Liliana can vouch. Thank you for joining. Astrid, thank you for joining. And whoever is on Facebook. And it's been a journey for all of us, Anu. And like you said, you also enjoyed this whole 15 weeks of authors talking about their lives. And to write your story is one thing, but to talk about it in front of other people is another thing. And you gave us a fantastic platform. You are the queen of questions.
Thank you.
And you will always dig deeper. And you always have a last question and another last question and another last question. But, you know, all the authors who were interviewed by you really learned a lot about themselves, new things we learned while discussing with you. And I want to thank you personally, even though I don't know you personally, but I know we're going to meet soon. And thank you for your time, because for you it was every time 11 o'clock at night, and you're a busy, busy lady. And in 1 hour, it's your birthday. And so stay up and have a glass of champagne and enjoy life. And I hope that we can continue somehow or the other. And as I said, we would like to invite you to one of our coffee mornings on a Friday. And I think we should keep a little window on the Tuesday or Wednesday for half an hour to chat from time to time. Our Tuesdays and Wednesdays are going to be without nothing now, you know. It's so
we will create something.
We have to create something now. And
could you also tell everybody about the 20th?
The 20th, we whoever wants to join, please join. We will send around a link. We had the urge to be all together again with all the authors around the table and to talk of what it meant to every author, and also for Anu to give her feedback, what she felt with every author. And I think it's going to be a really, really nice session for all of us to sit again for a last time. Well, I don't want to call it a last time, all around the table. And again, from the bottom of my heart, Anu, thank you for all you did, because you invested your time so much and you're such a busy, busy, busy lady. And I have no more last question for you. Yes, I have one. Are you going to miss us?
Of course. Of course. But you miss people when they're away.
Yeah, but we're not away. We're here.
You're always going to be in my heart.
Yeah, we're always here. And I think everyone was a little bit scared, you know, with the interview and how's it going to go. But everyone afterwards came out with a smile on their face and learning new things about oneself. And yeah, and you're the queen of questions.
Thank you so much. I would take an opportunity here to invite Astrid if she wants to have an interview, not maybe like this, but we could do it over the Zoom and put it live. Astrid, it's a real invitation because you're the only one I didn't meet. And I feel I haven't met a soul sister of mine. So think about it, take your time. We could always do it after the 20th. It's not a big deal. I think with you not speaking, it feels that a link of me is missing. I felt as if each one of you showed me different aspects of life. And I believe that if I didn't see what was going on in your story, there would be something missing in my story. So I would really invite you, think about it, take your time. There's no pressure, there's no hurry. I just saw you there and I thought it's a great opportunity to invite you, and take your time. And
well spotted, Anu. Well spotted, Anu. You see, Astrid, I told you she is the queen of question.
Anu, I promise, I will have a conversation with you, the two of us, before, and from there on, we decide what to do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, because I just felt, and this is with all sincerity, when you have 15 people, and there is one person missing, for whatever reasons, the person is missing. And it feels as if I'm missing something in my life.
I understand.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing.
And
thank you for
and Anu, I also would like to mention that for us, especially for me, when I thought about our first time when I talked to you about the book, my biggest wish is to have a continuation, a volume 2 from India.
Hey guys, you're listening out there, so please, let's take Anya's invite, and if anybody wants to write a story for India, I mean, for an Indian version of I Am Every Woman, you can connect with me and say, we're again going to have about 15 authors and 15 pages in the same way, and see if we can continue the stories into another book.
Brilliant.
So if anybody's listening and they're interested, send a message on the Facebook or on my messenger. And, you know, you never know what opens up. So I think I'll take up that first. So I will.
I was going to
really
say
go ahead.
your story will be interesting.
Yes.
I want to hear about that, Anu.
Anu,
Dr. Anu.
you know, Liliana, nice to see
Hello,
your
I'm so
voice.
sorry I'm in and out, but I wanted to be here for you.
Thank you. But
Oh.
you know, Anu, we will have, unfortunately for your life, also only space 4,000 words, not more.
Yeah, guys.
3,003.
I wrote 3,000.
Okay, then we will give her 3,500.
3,500, yeah.
So
Happy birthday
absolutely.
to you. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
stay healthy
Thank you.
and be happy, and talk to you soon, Anu. Thank you. And whoever joined us on Facebook and live, thank you all for coming, and thank you being part of this project. It's a lovely project. Merci.
Can I just say one thing, Anja? I just wanted to ask, as a chameleon, what color do you think you are now?
I am orange and purple.
Oh, nice.
Wonderful. I love it. And also to
Beautiful.
say to you, to Anu, I actually voice recorded the recording. So I just got it all down on script. So, and yes, like Anja said, I have learned from the questioning and answering that we had, things about me that I had never verbalized before. So very much the step forward from just from not just writing, from writing our story to expanding that out and seeing more of ourselves. So that's another thing for other people to learn from, that it's not just the words that go into the book, it's then what goes on beyond that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so thank you. I must dash because I need to go and get ready for yoga. Have a lovely birthday tomorrow, Anu.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
will see you ladies, the rest of you, on Friday.
Yes.
Bye, Christine. Bye.
Bye.
All
Happy
right.
birthday.
Bye, ladies.
Happy birthday, Anu.
Bye, guys. Happy
Thank
birthday, Anu.
you.
Have a great
Thank
one.
you.
Bye,
Thank
ladies.
you.